Hello, it's me, Bridget, coming at you with an intuition video. I have a fun topic today. It is high risk intuitive living, which is a concept that's maybe a little bit more advanced in the studies of intuition, but it is something that I think is fun to imagine and consider as you're growing your intuition, because when you hear people living it and doing it, it's very inspiring and it's open to everyone. So I'm just going there right off the top. It's a phrase that I made up, so if you look it up, you probably won't find other places. So I'm going to explain it to you and tell you some stories of people going for it and living it. So on your journey of intuition, there's the concept that you have this inner knowing of what you would prefer, okay? Kind of, I like to say, are you feeling it or are you not feeling it? So feeling it feels like, ooh, I'm excited, or I'm a little bit magnetized to this thing, or I'd like to go say hi to that person, or gee, that job sounds so exciting. Could I get that job? Or I would love to live in that town. Those kind of like yum, yum, num, num, num feelings, or like, I don't know, I just have to say this, I just got to express this. Not feeling it is more like, I guess I could. I probably should do that. Yeah. Whew, it just makes me tired. Boy, I don't know. I'm kind of just worn out just thinking about it, right? That kind of drop in energy. Okay, so you're feeling it, not feeling it. Once you practice, and we'll have more discussion about this, once you practice that knowing and you act on it. So it's like, actually, I'm not feeling this. I'm going to press pause, or I'm going to do this maybe another time, or thanks for your offer, but just not today kind of energy, all right? Or like, well, and then the flip side of that is when you're feeling it and you kind of go for it. Okay, so this is high risk intuitive living, and actually it could work on the reverse, on the negative. Like, no, I know I've always done that. I'm not doing it anymore. Kind of energy. So let's get down to a little bit more specifics. The thing about high risk intuitive living is that it comes at a time in your life when you're pretty darn good at hearing yourself. Okay, and you come across a quote opportunity or some sort of situation that requires you to have quite a bit of faith in yourself. Okay, you're doing something that is not logical. It's not on the list of approved activities by general society. So I'll tell you a story right now. And the thing about this is, it is thrilling. I call it the magic carpet ride type of life. I have a little book I wrote that I don't have a real copy of, Intuition, a Pep Talk, but I talked about the magic carpet ride. And the idea is that the magic carpet ride, you kind of don't know where you're going. It's magical. You're flying in the air. You can do loop-de-loops. You don't have a steering wheel on the magic carpet ride, but it's very fun. It's very exciting, and it usually turns out absolutely for your best and your highest. So, a story. I have a good friend who lived up here in the Pacific Northwest with me. Bit of a YouTube star, really interesting career on this side of the woo-woo, life. An intuitive kind of person. And she had a bit of a following on YouTube, and she'd been making videos for like 3 years. And she had all kinds of fans and people that loved her. And there was this one young guy who was a follower, and he had an intuitive session with her, blah, blah, blah. And she didn't really think anything of it. So she met him, say, 3.5 years ago. So 3 years later, after their first encounter just over video and not really being in touch, this person reaches back out to her and asks if she would like to just hang out online and chat. And she's like, okay, that's fine. Is this a date, kind of is what she's thinking? But I remember talking to her that day, and she's like, I kind of know what this is, but I'm going to go for it. So that evening they meet. 6 hours later, they recognize that they really get along, and they had such a fun time spending time together. And she finds out this young man has been crushing on her hard for like 3 years and is like over the moon that he actually just got to speak to her, right? And she knows his name. So this goes on. This is November of last year, and they start basically meeting more often, being in touch, texting, phone calls, start sharing their life together. And by January, they decide that he's going to come and visit. He's over on the East Coast. She's out on the West Coast. He's in the Air Force. He's at a base in the Air Force. So she is like, okay, cool. Yeah, come visit. I'd love to meet you in person, right? Oh my gosh, meet you in person. This is so exciting. How risky. How cool. You're going to come visit me. Then she realizes that her lease is up at her apartment. She's really ready to get out of town. She has been for a while and kind of been trying to figure out what was next for her. It's kind of one of her wishes. Long story short, you know where I'm heading. The decision is made that he's going to come out and help her move back east with him. They have been in touch. They like each other. It feels right. It doesn't make sense to anyone else. There's quite an age gap in this relationship, but they're having a blast, and everything about it feels right. So this is a person in particular, my friend, and I think somewhat the other person, the guy, that really has a good sense for what feels right to her. And as crazy as it sounds, she decides to go for it. And I remember the phone call, like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna move. I'm going for it. So I help them pack up. A friend of mine helps them pack up. We send them on their way. They got married last weekend. It's just about, I guess, 7 months since they first met online. And I remember I had a text from her the other day because I was like, how are you? You know, after you're married, she goes, it was the easiest thing I've ever done in my life. It was so great, so soft in a way, just like, oh, yeah, this is it. This feels great. And I love the way it was the easiest thing I ever did in my life, getting married to this person. And you listening to this story may be like, this is just totally cuckoo. How could anyone ever pull this off? People pull this off. People do this. People meet and they get hitched. Sometimes it falls apart, and that's high-risk intuitive living. But my sense with these two is that despite all the rules they have broken and all the reasons you could say they did it wrong, they're having a great time. And they're building a life together, and they want to get some land out in Idaho or Montana, get a little space, build a house. They want to do all these things together, and they're so excited. Their wedding photos were beautiful. They're just happy. It is classic pretty high risk intuitive living. Keep in mind that it could be something as simple as, I had a friend who was at a funeral recently for a family, and she was sitting in the pew, and she had the program for the event. And she was in a phase of like, I clutter clear. She just discovered clutter clear everything. I let go of everything. I don't need anything. But she had this program in hand. She's like, oh, I don't know why, but I feel like holding on to this. Like, that's so not in my rules, right? I don't hold on to things. But she did, tucked it in her purse. She couldn't help herself, even though all this stuff was happening, obviously funeral and all these emotions, very clearly needed to hold on to this program. Walks to the back of the church, has kind of some family dynamics going on, kind of trying to weave through, and runs into her cousin, who's the one who just lost her father, and rubs her back, says hi, checks in, and she's a little weepy, and she says to her, she goes, is there anything I can do? Is there anything that you need right now? And the cousin says, I just wish I had gotten a program. Like, I can't find one anywhere. And my friend pulls it out, says, you know, I have one right here in my purse. You can have this. So the idea of listening to that quieter, oftentimes non-logical, oftentimes, but often very loving, very sweet, very peaceful part of yourself can bring in not just magic for you, but open doors and pathways to joy for other people as well. So that's a pretty quick tour through high-risk intuitive living. And I'll just say this, you know, the idea is do no harm, come from love, not fear, and encourage peace in the world with your choices, and you will own your choices, and you will bring the goodness that your intuition is designed to bring into the world. And have fun with it too, because the thing about, I'll just say this last thing about high-risk intuitive living is that you don't need to beat yourself up depending on the outcome. If you learned, that's great. Nelson Mandela says, I never lose, I either win or I learn. So high-risk intuitive living can be really rewarding and also just a great opportunity to learn about yourself and what you would like or not like. Okay, all the best, intuitors. Get out there and do the work because you're awesome and the world needs you. Okay, bye.